Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, yeah, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movies, slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, but mostly books. Today's video, it is another book-themed video. Yep, it is my favorite of all the book-themed videos, and that is my monthly TBR video. I just love making a TBR, I love a good list, I can't help myself. And in honor of one of the most unhinged readathons that I will ever be a part of, my TBR is also the most unhinged it's ever been. So stay tuned. And when we come back, I will explain what I mean, but until then, you'll just have to wonder what I mean, and I'll see you back here in just a second. Welcome back, guys! I am so hyped! So to explain my comment about an unhinged readathon, I will be hosting, along with two of my favorite people in the entire world, Kitty from Spicy Cats Reads and Andrew from It Came From the Page. I am hosting, along with them, a Patreon-only readathon next month in June. It is called the Unhinged Readathon, and essentially the theme is sharks, slashies, and monsties, and it's definitely got a summer camp and shark type of vibe. It's not only a readathon, by the way, it is a watchathon, but I will be only going through my books that I'll be reading. I do have a whole movie list, and we do have movie prompts and watching prompts, but I am only going to go through that on Patreon. However, I will go through the books I am reading, and I'll let you know that you can read very general things. If you're interested, all you have to do is join any one of our 3 Patreons. We're all together doing this readathon, and so we're all gonna do sprints together. It's gonna be so much fun. But yeah, if you want to know more info, I'd suggest subscribing to one of our channels, because I think, not only myself, but I think that my 2 friends have great Patreon channels. Please support them, and I am a member of both of their Patreon channels, and it is definitely worth it. Slashies, sharks, and monsties, and it's hosted by the Unhinged bunch. So we've got little prompts. These are the reading prompts. These are the watching prompts. I've got printables made. It's all on our joint Discord we made for this very special readathon, this joint readathon. So, very exciting. You do not have to fulfill all the prompts. You can double dip, you could triple dip, whatevs. We call ourselves the Unhinged Bunch, in case you were wondering, because our sprints together, with the 3 of us, are unhinged as hell. So, yeah, we are unhinged together, but in the best way, and I love hanging out with Andrew and Kitty, and I'm so excited to be co-hosting this readathon with them. But without further ado, I'm going to get into my TBR, and the books that I'm about to talk about, they fit every single prompt for the readathon, but also I am participating in June on the Range, and I'm also reading a lot of slasher books. You do not have to read slashers at all to do the readathon, but I always read slashers in the summer, so I made sure to include lots of slasher books on this TBR to stay within the spirit of what I do every summer, which is read slashers, and some summer camp slashers to be specific. So I do have some summer camp themed books in here. So not only is this TBR unhinged because we call ourselves the Unhinged Bunch and our sprints are unhinged, but also I'm calling this TBR unhinged because I have over 30 books on this pile of possibilities that is my TBR. It is insane. Will I get to all of them? No. I know I won't. But it's fun to dream. A girl can dream, right? And I'm really excited about this, and I'm hoping to roll over whatever books I can't get to. So I'm not going to go through every single prompt. I will just, in some cases, go through some, and in other cases, I will just skip over a few. So we have 3 different sets of prompts, and each set represents one of us in our Patreon channel. So one's like monster themed for Kitty, one is shark themed for Andrew, and one is slasher themed for me, because I always read slashers in the summer. But each of them has a little taste of all 3 of us in that little graphic, which represents each of us. So I'm very excited. I think it's really cute what we all came up with, and I'm really proud of it. So the first book I want to talk about is my book club book, and I will have a co-host for the eventual live show, and that will be Lauren from Happy Haunts Library. She is fantastic, and I think she'll be a great person to talk about this book with. And the book is Knock Knock by S.P. Miskowski, and this is a dark coming-of-age book, and it focuses on a group of girls, and I've heard great things about it. I'm so excited to get to it. It is available, I think, on audio, but you'd have to buy it on, or use a credit on Audible. But you can find a Kindle copy, and this was originally published in 2011. So I'm really excited to get to this. I'm a big coming-of-age person. The things I like to read in the summer: Animal Attack, shark books, coming of age, and slasher books. So usually my summer TBRs feature those types of books heavily on multiple TBRs within the summertime. So Knock Knock fits perfectly here, and the main reason it's here is because, of course, it's my book club book, and my book club is the Midnight Book Society. If you've not heard about it, the Discord is free and open to the public, and it is linked down below. This next book is the book I'll be reading for my Year of Richard Lehman read-along that I'm doing with my friend Christine over at Secrets Read. She has not been enjoying the Lehman books. I have for the most part, but I did not love the Lehman book that I read in this month that I'm filming this, which is May, and that was Body Rides. I hated it. However, I have high hopes for The Woods Are Dark because my friend Cameron from Library Macabre has read this and he really enjoyed it. In fact, it was one of his favorite reads from last year. And if Cameron likes it, I usually know it'll be a fun time and that I will most probably like it too. So yes, I'm down. Essentially, I think the basic premise is this girl and her friend are in the woods hiking, and they basically run into a bad group of people, this family, and I think they become shackled to the trees. I think it's a cannibal story, chases through the woods, etc., etc. I don't want to know too much. I just know that it's bonkers, it's crazy. I do advise if you're going to read along with us, and the read along is taking place on my Discord, by the way, which again is linked below. It's the same Discord as the Midnight Book Society. You don't have to read our book club book and the Year of Lehman book. You could choose to read one or the other, or neither if you're not interested, doesn't matter. But anyway, if you are going to read along for this particular Richard Lehman read along, I would advise making sure that you find the restored and uncut edition, because that is the edition that Richard Lehman wanted to be read. He's no longer around, but this is the edition, the author's preferred edition, essentially. So one of the prompts is about reading a book with a curse or cursed item, and for this one I'm going to read Jason's Curse. This was kindly given to me by my friend Alex over at the channel The Bookubus. Thank you so much, Alex. This is still one of my most treasured, most prized possessions. I keep it on my desk over there, where I could see it, like, on display all the time, every day, and every time I look at it, I think of you, and I smile because it was so sweet for you to send this to me. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be finally getting to this. These are a group of YA novels. It's the Camp Crystal Lake novels. They're a group of them, and they're very rare, very hard to find, and this one has the word curse in it, so it fits the prompt about reading a book with a curse or a cursed object. Girl! Alright, so I'm going to talk about more slasher books, and they're more rare slasher books, just like Jason's Curse. So the next prompt that I'm going to be doing for my Patreon Readathon, along with Kitty and Andrew, is about listening to a Slashtrax audiobook. If you don't know what Slashtrax is, it's a wonderful YouTube channel that is dedicated to making audiobooks for free just on YouTube of these really hard to find slasher books. So you could find lots of Freddy books and novelizations. You can find lots of Friday the 13th ones. You could find lots of Halloween novelizations and tie-in books, all on their YouTube channel, and it's fantastic. So I'm going to be listening to one or both of these from the Slashtrax audio library there. I will link the YouTube channel below if you're looking for what they have to offer. So the two I've picked out, and I know one might be bad, but I don't care. If they're both terrible, it's fine. I'm excited to listen either way. I'll listen in Diamond Paint, that's fine. So the first one is Friday the 13th, Church of the Divine Psychopath. Now, Andrew listened to this on Slashtrax, and he said the story itself was not great. It was just okay, but I'm still up for it. The premise sounds fun. The next one I've picked out, which is also on Andrew's TBR, spoiler, sorry Andrew, to your TBR, but it's Friday the 13th, Hell Lake, and essentially, like, Jason's coming up from hell, and I think he's battling or teaming up with other great serial killers? I can't remember. Anyway, that's the basic premise. I don't want to know too much. But yeah, 3 Friday the 13th books on my freaking TBR. Very appropriate because I'm going for a big slasher theme, so check. The next prompt on one of the boards is about reading a sequel, and I've actually picked out quite a few sequels that are on my potential TBR for June, and I'm gonna go through a few here. So, last year, during the month of either June or July for my Slasher Readathon last year, I read Escape from Happydale by Jack Quaid. This was so good, it was a 5-star read for me. I also know that my friend Katrina, over at the channel Katrina Brown, read and loved this, so I do highly recommend this as a great slasher book, and it's a series. So, I read the first book last year, like I said. This is the first book, Escape from Happydale. So then I thought, what better time to read the sequel than making it fit for this prompt we have for our Patreon readathon. So I'll be reading the sequel, Escape from Bastard Town. I believe there's 3 books total in the series. So that's one of the sequels I plan on reading. The other sequel I plan on reading, I just heard Cameron talk about this trilogy of books on his YouTube channel, and it reminded me that I read the first book in the trilogy, but I never read the second or third. So that is the Kill River series. I read the first book 2 years ago, so quite a while ago. So I thought, he's kind of hyping me up to want to read the second book. He said that he liked this one better than the first, that it was really fun, and I'm always down to check out a book that he recommends, so heck yes, it's going on the TBR, another sequel, Kill River 2. And last but not least, I also hope to read Taste Like Candy 2, Sugarless. This is by Ivy Tholen. I am working on a Read Like Ivy Tholen vlog where I'm reading some of her favorite books. I've already read a few. I still have one more to finish, which is Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and that's actually on my list for June as well, because I'm hoping to finish out the vlog in June. So I will read Taste Like Candy 2 for that vlog, just to read a book by Ivy Tholen within the Read Like Her vlog, because I think that'd be a fun way to finish it out. And then one of her favorite books, which was Men, Women, and Chainsaws. I'm already a little bit into that book, and I'm loving it, so I cannot wait to finish it. And it's a fascinating read. It is nonfiction, like I said, so, but it is slasher related, so it's awesome. It's perfect for this TBR. And yeah, Tastes Like Candy, the first book, is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm highly anticipating loving Tastes Like Candy 2, but I'm also nervous, because will I like it? I don't know. Tastes Like Candy, it's like my favorite slasher, period, ever. So I'm a little nervous about digging into the sequel, but anyway, that is the plan. Those are my sequels that I plan on digging into. We will see what I get to, and I hope I love them, whatever sequels I do end up getting to. So if you know me, you know that I cannot make decisions, hence why I have multiple books for each prompt. So I have choices, but I really would love to get to every single choice that I have for each prompt, but we'll see. So this next prompt is about reading a book that takes place in a small town, and my first option is Kin by Keelan Patrick Burke. This is essentially a summer slasher adjacent book that is more of a cannibalism book. So it says,
on a scorching hot summer day in Elkwood, Alabama, Claire Lambert staggers naked, wounded, and half-blind away from the scene of an atrocity. She is the sole survivor of a nightmare that claimed her friends, and even as she prays for rescue, the killers, a family of cannibalistic lunatics, are closing in.
So, I'm excited about this. I've heard great things. I already own the audio. Heck yes, let's go! Let's go. Alright, and other 2 books that are on my 24 books to read in 2024 lists, I have 2 of those, a paperback from Hell themed one, and a newer book themed 24 to read in 2024 list. And these are from those. So this one's from the older one, this is from the newer one, and apparently they both take place in small towns. I'm actually just guessing about this one. I did read that this is supposedly taking place in a small town, but we'll see. So this is Night Film. I've talked about it in a couple of videos before. Essentially, the premise seems to be the daughter of a mysterious reclusive film director is found dead, and her death is ruled a suicide, but then this investigative journalist, he suspects that it wasn't suicide, and he tries to uncover the truth behind her death, and what he discovers is the underworld of the family's secret life. Very interesting mystery thriller seeming book, and it seems like it'd be a fun read. And last but not least, we have The Feeding by Lee Clark. I am so excited for this. I know my friend Ashley just read this, and check out her channel. I will link it below. She did some great old school April vlogs that I was so excited to watch. She tried this candy that was insane. It was like freeze-dried candy. It looked so good and made me want to buy this candy. Anyway, she just read this, said it was really dark. I've heard online that this book is crazy and hard-hitting and dark, so I am so pumped to get to it.
In a desperate attempt to save their marriage, Robin and Matt packed up their 2 kids and drove to the mountains of rural California for a much-needed vacation. They had rented a crumbling old house that sat atop an abandoned mine and hoped that the peaceful setting would calm their nerves and rekindle their love. But something evil inhabited the gloomy caverns beneath their house, something incredibly ancient and insatiably hungry. It lusted for the bodies of their children. It thirsted for their blood. It craved their flesh. It would not be denied.
Back to the slasher-themed books. The next prompt is about reading a meta book, which is kind of like a book that references its own genre, like a book that references horror or horror tropes. This one definitely fits in that category. It is a fake novelization, essentially, of a fake horror. Well, it's like it's a novelization of a fake horror movie. I can't really explain it. It definitely fits the prompt. It's a meta horror book for sure. And I actually started this last year for my slasher readathon, but I did not get to finish it. Not because I wasn't liking it, I just ran out of time and I had too much to read, and this didn't have an audiobook. But I'm hoping to finish it. Do I have the bookmark in it? I do. I got 82 pages in, and I was really enjoying it. So this would fit for that. But if you're looking for other suggestions, I do have more on our joint readathon Discord. I think I have 2 more suggestions for meta books, including The Curse of the Reaper, which I think is a great book that definitely mentions horror movie tropes within the book. So any kind of book about horror movies, horror tropes, etc. would fit this prompt. Also, my other read that I told you about, the nonfiction read, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, would also fit for this prompt. So that is another choice for this prompt. Next up is to read a book that could make you emotional, and I have a few choices for this. I think Camp Damascus could be an emotional read. That's a slasher kind of adjacent book. It's a summer camp book. That one could be very emotional. I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. Also, another book that I think could be emotional because this author's books are very dark, very emotional, and make you just feel a lot of things, including disgust, because they are so vividly graphic, and that is Lost Souls by Poppy Z. Bright, aka Billy Martin. Now, this book is Kitty's book club book for the month of June, so it's perfect. It fits in. I'm definitely going to be reading it no matter what, but it does fit the prompt, a book that could make you emotional. I just have a feeling it will be emotional in some way, shape, or form, whether that is kind of like grossing me out because of the graphic nature of the book, which I'm just guessing it'll be graphic, or maybe that it'll have some emotional relationship related moments. I'm not sure. We also have a prompt about reading a cosmic horror book, and I was researching about great cosmic horror, and the book 14 came up by Peter Clines, and this sounded so interesting and I just had to pick it up. I found an audiobook for it, so I will definitely be reading this. Next up, some other books I'm going to read that are slasher books just cause they don't necessarily fit any of the prompts. We do have a prompt about read a book with a scary cover. A lot of these could fit that. Or we've got some that says to read a book that matches with a beverage. These could match that. I don't know. I'll find a way to fit them in, but I'd love to potentially get to any of these, but hopefully at least one of these. So one is Larry, and this is actually a Patreon jar submission from one of my Patreons. They can submit book titles or movie titles or prompts to my Patreon cornhole jar, and Larry was one of them. And I think that one could be a lot of fun. It definitely has a scary cover. Also, it's quite humorous. I started it a couple of years ago. I just never finished it. I ran out of time, so I think it could make me smile and laugh too, despite the scary cover. And we do have a prompt about read a book that will make you smile, so that one could fit there. Also, a book I've been meaning to read for the last couple of years that's definitely a slasher book, Reincarnage, Maximum Carnage. Heard great things about this. Essentially,
11 people awaken in an abandoned motel, transported from all over the United States. They have no memory of the journey and no idea where they are or why anyone would take them. Then they find the blood and the heads mounted on stakes. 30 years ago, the town of Morgan, a Vietnam vet, embarked on a killing spree that ultimately cost him his life. Then he resurrected to do it again and again. Morgan has since been evacuated by the government and enclosed by walls 30 feet high to contain the inhuman slayer known as Agent Orange. Now confined to his hunting grounds, the abducted must survive the kill zone, where Agent Orange has traps and weapons stashed all around, an almost omniscient ability to stalk, and lifetimes to perfect the art of butchery with an endless canvas of human flesh.
heck yes. A YA book that was also given to me as a Patreon jar submission is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, and this one looks like a really fun time. I've heard great things about it, and so I'm excited to get to it. And I appreciate both my Patreons for recommending Larry and You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. I haven't been picking out of my jar because I've been purposely picking things that are nowhere in the jar for certain months that the books match for. So, you know, those are slasher books, they match for this month. I'm using those submissions and I'm going to try to read them. Another book I would love to get to is The Last Girl Standing. Oh, I'm sorry, The Last Girls Standing, plural. This is by L.C. Valentine. I don't hear anybody talking about this, but when researching horror books and slasher books, I came across this. It is labeled as a horror comedy. It looks like a VHS tape, of course, and I actually have the audiobook for this, so that makes me want to get to it even more, and it sounds really good. Of course, it takes place at summer camp, which makes me want to get to it even more because I love a good summer camp horror book, especially if it's a summer camp slasher book specifically. So,
Stop me if you've heard this one before. A group of teenagers work as camp counselors at a recently reopened summer camp, a camp that hides a sinister secret. It's home to an undead killer, a monster that picks them off one by one until there's only one girl standing. For Ellie, that's not how the story ends, and that's how it begins. Because Ellie's not the only girl to have faced evil and survived, there are others, and now they're sworn to protect those in danger. They're sworn to fight back against the creatures that lurk in the darkness. They are the last girls standing, and Ellie's journey is just getting started.
sounds fantastic. Another book that I would love to get to that I just discovered through some of my research is called Video Nasties, and that is by Duncan Ralston. It's 16 horror tales in the tradition of King, Matheson, and The Twilight Zone. After discovering a box of old tapes outside of an abandoned warehouse, a young film enthusiast inadvertently releases horror director Niccolò Funili and his Video Nasties from VHS imprisonment. And so there's different stories. It just sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it would be perfect for June. Another book that I discovered that is definitely a slasher book that would fit for June would be Slashviver. Slashviver essentially is a story about a reality TV show where the contestants are made to face off against known serial killers like killer clowns, these random other killers, and it just sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like a crazy story. There's even an evil animatronic Abraham Lincoln type of character, apparently. Say no more. You had me at frickin' animatronic Abe Lincoln. I'm sold. That's all I need to know. Now let's go over some shark books, and Andrew's part of the readathon has some ocean-related prompts, and that's why I wanted to read some shark books, and it also has an animal attack related prompt, so these books would fit for that. So I've got 3 shark books picked out. One I'm not super happy about because I don't really want to support this author. I hear he's a jerk to his fans, and I think that's such a shame, but I am intrigued by the story. This is Meg by Steve Alton. However, I got this used, so it didn't really benefit the author since it was from a used bookstore, so at least I feel good about that, but I still feel weird supporting the author. But anyway, at least I didn't buy it new, and I love a good shark attack story, and I heard the story's actually good, so I think I'm just gonna read it and see what I think. Next up, the other 2 I found. One is called Scar by Michael Cole, and I think it's about a shark that has been altered by science, and it gets loose and attacks, of course. I don't really need to know too much. A good, highly rated shark attack story, yes, I'm there. It doesn't matter how cheesy the story or premise is, I want to read it. And last but not least, the last shark attack book on my actual TBR is Z Shark, and this is by J.D. Huff. And is this about a zombie shark? Yes, it is. Is it gonna be pretty bad? Probably. Yeah, I don't care. It sounds like a freaking fun time to me, so I'm gonna flippin' go crazy. I'm excited to read it. Oops, I lied. There is one more shark book. I forgot I owned this, but I found it. Scary Shark Stories, and it's just a cute little used book that I found at a bookstore. And it's just these cute stories. I say cute. Why am I saying cute? These scary stories about sharks. So I don't think it's cute. In fact, I just saw an illustration. Hold up. Oh, hell yeah. Shark attack in a boat. Let's go. Anyway, this, I'd love to squeeze it in. Maybe I could read a couple stories here and there. And by the end of the month, maybe I'll end up finishing it pretty easily. I mean, the font is huge, so I'm adding it on the freaking huge ass TBR, the Unhinged TBR, as I've been saying. Alright, now let's go over some prompts that are on Kitty's side of the readathon. And again, you don't have to do all of them if you decide to join any of our Patreons and join in on this readathon. Just so you know, you don't have to do all the prompts like I'm crazily attempting to do. And having multiple books per prompt, that's what I'm trying to do, which is insane and unhinged. But whatever, that goes with the whole theme. You can pick and choose, you could do one prompt multiple times, you can stretch the prompts. Kitty loves monster romance, so a lot of hers are geared toward monsters in general, and some even say read a romance, like 1 or 2 says that. Most of them just say read a book with this monster or that monster. So there's one about reading a book with a vampire. So for that, Andrew and I decided it would be so thematic to continue on with our reread of the Twilight series. Our next book in the series that we have on the agenda to reread is Eclipse. And in my old copy, I found this bookmark, and I didn't even know I owned it, but apparently I do. And also it's super appropriate because Andrew and I were doing this reread anyway. We started last year, and after reading each book, or rereading each book, we also watch the movie, or rewatch the movie in my case. He hasn't seen all of them. And we do a drunk commentary. For this drunk commentary that we'll film in the month of June, Kitty will be joining us! So I'm so excited. She loves Twilight, so it just feels so appropriate that we're doing this readathon with Kitty, and we're reading one of her favorite book series, and we'll be all together doing a drunk commentary about one of the Twilight movies. It's so perfect, it's beyond appropriate. And it'll be unhinged, I can guarantee you that. So, yes, Eclipse, it's a chunker, but I have read it before, and I had fun with it, so we'll see what adult Kelsi thinks of this. So one of the only romance-specific prompts from Kitty's side of the readathon says to read a shark romance, but she did clarify in our Discord that you could also read a mermaid romance and basically count it. So I have a few shark romance books, I have a regular shark literary fiction book, I have some other monster romances. You don't have to read any monster romance if you join us and want to participate in the readathon. You could just pick out, monster books, or underwater books, or animal attack books, but I am going to pick out, in the spirit of the readathon and the spirit of my co-host Kitty, I'm going to pick out monster romances. The first 2 are shark themed. So here we have Anchored to the Shark Man by Jade Waltz. I actually looked for romances that had a story that wasn't just like kind of 10 pages of smut. These have a story. Some of these are slow burns, which is the kind of romance that I prefer. Don't like things just jumping, to the finish line. I don't like things just finishing on home plate when it just begins. So anyway, the other shark book is a literary fiction book, but I thought it would be fun to lump it in with other shark books, and that is Shark Heart, a love story. And again, this is a literary book. I've heard great things. To let you know, there's some prompts about reading books with orcs, trolls, aliens, vampires, as I already told you, kraken, all kinds of fun things. So for the orc books, I'm going to be reading specifically orc romances. We've got one called The Half Orcs Maiden Bride by Ruby Dixon. I've read a book recently by Ruby Dixon, which would be the Ice Planet Barbarian Book 1 book, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was surprised. The other book is Orc's Bride, or The Orc's Bride, Silver Fury, Book 1. This is by Layla Faye. I have read at least one book by Layla Faye, and I've liked it. It was called Satan. So I'm excited to read another book from her. Alright, now I'm going for a mermaid-themed book, Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm. This one I just was like, I feel like I should read another water-based freaking romance book, so whatevs, this is on there. For my alien read, I am going to read Choosing Theo by Victoria Aveline? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but whatevs. We'll see how many of these I'll get to, but I'm excited to try. And last but not least, a book that is coming out next month in June, in the month we're doing this readathon, is The Kraken Games by Lilith Stone. This one was recommended by Kitty in terms of she was trying to find Kraken romances for people, and that was one. I wouldn't have heard of it had it not been for her, so I was like, why not? There's a wrestling ring on the cover, like that's why I chose it, so whatevs. Whatevs, I'm excited. It's gonna be unhinged and fun. And whenever I give certain types of romances a chance, usually I'm surprised and I don't have a bad time, so let's just keep going outside of my comfort zone. I'm gonna need a break between slashers, so that's why there's such a mix of things in this TBR pile, whatevs. Okay, I'm almost done, I freaking swear. Let's go over the few books I have planned for June on the Range, a readathon about reading Western type of books. So I've got a couple of horror adjacent books, including one that was sent to me by the publisher Tor Nightfire. Thank you so much, I'm so excited to finally be getting into this. It's Red Rabbit. I have heard fantastic things about this. I know Andrew has read and loved it, and I just think it's gonna be right up my alley. Wanted for Witchcraft, Dead or Alive. So witches in a Western? Heck yeah, count me in. Next up, these books came directly from my friend Crystal, so thank you, Crystal, you always have the best recommendations. So True Grit, she read it and loved it, and I'm excited to get to it. Walk the Darkness Down by John Bowden, another Western I'm really interested in. Thank you, Crystal, for putting this on my radar. And last but not least, a Haley Piper book that looks really fun and action-packed, and the cover is gnarly. Cruel Angels Past Sundown. I've enjoyed everything I've read from Haley Piper so far, so I can't wait to read another book by her, hopefully, if I can get to it. I know this is ridiculous. This is like 38 books. This is insane. This is not possible, but I'm gonna try. It doesn't hurt to try, as they say. Alright guys, that was a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my TBR video. I love a good TBR video. It's one of my favorites that anybody releases every month. I love those videos, and I am hoping you liked mine. But again, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate you guys. Also, why don't you leave me an emoji? Why don't you leave me a little knife emoji for slashers, or a shark emoji for the shark stuff? Or, I don't know if there is a Western emoji, but if there's like a cowboy hat, you could leave that too. So cowboy hat, a shark, or a knife, or all three, to show that you are here. I love interacting with you guys, but I'm so behind on comments, so I feel bad, but I do read every single comment, and I swear I will catch up soon. But for this time, that is it for me. I swear! Till next time, you guys know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys.